Welcome to another edition of the Resiliency Project. I'm Teddy Katz. Here we bring you a series of stories of resilience and reinvention. We started this series to help people struggling during the COVID-19 times. My partner with the Resiliency Project is PJ Kwong. PJ helps produce and take your questions and comments. Hello again, PJ.
Hi, Teddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Quickly, PJ, when you think of resiliency, who's the most resilient person you've ever met and why?
Well, I've thought a little bit about this, and I really think that it's any mom or dad or grandma or grandpa seated beside a child's hospital bed or helping a child through some sort of crisis or basically being the rock that a child with some sort of health difficulty or mental health difficulty is struggling with. That's who I think is the most resilient.
Absolutely. And today's guest is probably, from an athletic point of view, PJ, one of the most resilient athletes I've ever met. Yep. Ben Thomsen is one of the remaining members of the Canadian Cowboys, as they were known. He's a Canadian skier who's had some remarkable results over the past decade. But his journey, PJ, has had more twists and turns than some of the icy downhill skiing courses he goes down around the world. Ben Thomsen has his story of the rise and fall again is the stuff of Hollywood movies. And we're going to hear Ben talk about that story and what we can learn from it. Ben, welcome to the Resiliency Project.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're joining us from where? You're trucked there in Invermere, BC. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. People right now, Ben, are dealing with such uncertainty because of COVID-19. What about you? What's happening with you these days?
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty. I'm in truck right now just because my living quarters right now, they have some guests visiting, and we just want to keep space and keep our bubbles tight. But it's strange out there right now, and just got to remember to keep calm and level-headed.
What about from a skiing point of view? What's happening on that front, and what's keeping you up at night, if I can ask you that more general question?
Well, in the ski world, I only did one trip this year over to Europe. Normally we go down to South America, but that just wasn't possible with travel. I went over to Europe. I visited my girlfriend over there in Austria. Only skied about 5 days on the glacier, where normally, you're getting 60 plus days in the off season. I might be able to get 20 this year. So that's a little bit nerve wracking, especially when you're seeing your competition skiing almost every single day. But at the same time, I can't do anything about that. So in a sense, why worry about it? Maybe not why worry about it, but don't stress. There's no need to stress. Focus on my plan and my path, and I should be successful.
What is your current situation in terms of being with the team and that kind of stuff? You came off in 2018, 2019, you came off one of your best seasons. Where does that leave you now?
Well, unfortunately, after my 2019 season, I was quite injured with my left knee, and we did some rehab throughout the summer, and we had some new coaching staff, but it just didn't quite jive, and I wasn't 100% with my knee, and I didn't make the results that I needed to. So unfortunately, the team did not reselect me for this upcoming season, 2020 and 2021. But they still are supporting me in a way of they're allowing me to train with them. Just the huge burden of cost is all on me now, and any support that I get, I have to go find myself, or it comes out of my own pocket.
That seems like a big undertaking. Tell me how difficult that is.
Yeah, especially at these times, it's very uncertain. We don't even know if we're going to get a season. I'm committed to about $55,000 this year, my own money. Luckily, I have re-signed a sponsor, Scotia Wealth Management. They're helping out quite a bit, significantly, but a lot of it is on me. And now all the organization is on me, the plane tickets, the hotel, if I need physio, doctors, anything like that, insurance, like everything falls on me. And it's, it can be very stressful, but I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of supporters and a lot of behind the scenes people that don't necessarily get credit, which they should.
We're going to walk people through a little bit more detail of your story, where you are now, but also how things began for you, Ben. And if any of our viewers have questions, by all means, feel free to send your questions or comments, and PJ will make sure that we see them. This just seems, Ben, like it's just the latest huge hill that you have to conquer. And you said to me in the past that sometimes you even have a hard time believing your story and some of the things that you've gone through. Tell me a little bit about that, just in a general sense.
Okay, well, where to begin? My dad was the national team coach for many, many years and had quite the reputation kind of going through. And when I was an up-and-coming racer, it seemed like there was a little bit of a spotlight on me of that I had to perform a little bit better just because of my name or who I was. But I never really wanted to believe that or focused on it because, in the end, it's just I need to go as fast as I can and be the best that I can. So there was a little bit of politics kind of at a younger age, at the World Juniors age, around 20, where I felt like I should have been selected to make the team, and a lot of people just didn't and tried to push me out. I remember very many conversations with many people of telling me to quit and you won't make the national team, or we can't support you because we only support athletes that are meant to be on the team. And I go from racing independently, trying to make the national team, living in the industrial park of Immermere, collecting cans and bottles to make ends meet. And then 2 years later, making the national team and standing on the podium in Sochi, Russia in 2012 at the test event for the Olympics. It's been a whirlwind, and that's like just that first chapter has been crazy.
You say even you have a hard time believing that you could come from that kind of background. You mentioned to me in the past that you're one of the top junior skiers, but suddenly you don't have a place on the provincial team. And I just want to pick up some of the details of this because I think it's important for your story. So you don't make the provincial team. Your parents tell you maybe you should be thinking about doing something else because things weren't working out in terms of your dream. And then you end up living in the industrial park, as you were mentioning. Then the Vancouver Olympics roll around, and you had a role there that helped you sort of once again make a case for yourself with the national team. I wonder if you could explain sort of what happened there.
Yeah, well, first I just want to say we're trying something else. It was more so they just kind of telling me to quit. They just were a little bit stressed themselves, which I can understand fully, especially looking back now. But in 2010, I had a great opportunity. My dad was in charge of all the forerunners at the Olympics, and it wasn't that I got privileged. It was just we picked the best skiers, and so I got to forerun a lot of the events. And while I was doing that, I made an impact on some of the coaching there. And a new coach that would be hired as the new men's coach, John McBride, he really took an interest to me, and that opportunity just there of just being in front of him and skiing so that he could see, and it wasn't just about results. He saw the potential, and I believe that kickstarted my whole routine or pathway onto the national team.
So then you end up participating in some of the World Cups at the end of that year, if I'm remembering the scenario correctly, and then end up having some terrific results leading up to that year in Sochi and winning that silver medal at that test event. When you're standing on that podium, are you almost, as you say, almost pinching yourself?
Oh, totally. I mean, even when I crossed the finish line, for maybe 2-3 days afterwards, I just still couldn't believe it. I was in shock and awe.
After that, you're officially anointed, if I'm remembering correctly, a member of the Canadian Cowboys, as they were known at the time. Fighting for medals week in and week out, trying to become the next generation or that new generation of Canadian crazy Canucks. What was that like for you?
Oh, that was quite exhilarating. It was a very exciting time. Although we did have lots of injuries, it seemed like it was always flip-flopping back and forth of who was there. Fortunately, I was kind of always there, but with Eric, Manny, Jan, Johnny at times, Johnny Kachura, and it just seemed like every weekend was an opportunity for one of us to stand up there, more so them than me. I mean, I was a young guy, and I didn't even really know how I was skiing fast or why I was skiing fast, but it was just the confidence that I was getting from my teammates, training with them and then getting to the races, seeing that they can do it, and I know that I can do it. And so it was a really good team and teammates. Hopefully they feel the same way, but I really enjoyed my time.
They were kind of known for kind of crushing it on the hills, but also having a bit of cowboy swagger. Was that part of your toolkit as well?
Maybe a little bit. It kind of depends on who you talk to.
And Manny, who you're talking about, Manny Osborne-Parody, he retired this week. So there's very few of the Canadian Cowboys actually left. How does that feel for you?
Well, I mean, it's just me now. Dustin retired last year. Eric before that, and the rest before that, Jan, Mike, Johnny. Yeah, Francois Bork. It's kind of honoring in one way that I'm the last guy standing, but it is a bit stressful that I need to get results this year. It's just a matter of fact. Otherwise, I'll be looking to start a new career.
We're going to talk about that more in a couple of minutes, but I want to just sort of roll back to, after the Sochi result, life is finally going good for you, both professionally and personally. You were telling me before you had a girlfriend at the time, Evan, but you said at that point you went through a very difficult 2-year period, both in sort of your professional career with some injuries and also in your personal life. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened there that might help people understand a little bit more of the resilience that you were facing?
So in 2011, the summer of 2011, just before the 2012 season and results, I was training in Calgary and met a girl, Evan Parker. We were quite close, and then unfortunately she was diagnosed with leukemia, and it just didn't work out. Won't go into too many of the details, but she passed in August that summer. And going into that season, I'd never really been depressed, and going into that season, it didn't really kind of hit me until the summer. Once the season had finished, then it really sunk in. I didn't grieve properly, and I became extremely depressed and unmotivated. It was just a terrible time. I always saw mental depression as, I didn't understand it. I just thought, you can wake up in the morning and just tell yourself you feel good, and you feel good. I'd never had that challenge before, and it can be quite scary because a lot of people have that feeling too. They don't get it, and when you say you're depressed, people either shrug it off, oh, you're not depressed, or what's wrong with you, and they don't see it as something that you can. It can be easily fixed. I mean, it requires a lot of effort, but it's easy things that can keep you out of that darkness, and support and love and family goes a really long way. Um, I was fortunate enough I had all that, but I just didn't want to accept anything, and I just pushed everything away and did not do the right things. It's amazing that I'm kind of still here or still skiing. It just was a very terrible, toxic time.
What helped you get out of that?
Part of what helped me get out of that was I always wanted a dog, so I got a dog, a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, um, and named him Ruckus. And I got him right when he was a pup, and just that routine of waking up every morning, taking him out for a walk, so he can go to the bathroom. When I go to the gym, he would stay in my apartment, and then when I came home, another walk. And just that, having that companion there of unconditional love, and the routine that it got me in, it gave me structure and slowly turned me around, and just all of a sudden everything was just positive and not always focusing on negatives. uh, I mean, I believe he totally saved my life.
It's interesting because I know during COVID, one of the first things I do when you talk about structure every morning is take the dog out and just go and get fresh air, take her for a walk, and it's sort of the anchor of my day. It's so important. But you also explained to me that Ruckus was so important for you, but then you also had to deal with some tragedy with Ruckus. I mean, this is just an endless part of your story. What happened?
Yeah, so I think he was about 2.5 years old. He was just getting to the part where things were getting really fun. We were just starting to do adventures together, and he was starting to listen. We had a few close calls where he'd jump in the river, and I had to go after him. But yeah, it was starting to get really fun, and we drove out from Invermere, from Calgary to Invermere, which is a 3-hour drive and a long drive for a smaller dog. And I decided to go for a bike ride with my dad, and we were meeting at kind of the drop-off point halfway up Panorama Road. And my dad had forgotten something, so he had to turn around and go home. So we were just killing time and waiting. And the Ruckus has always been really good. I didn't have to kind of put him on a leash, but I wasn't really thinking. And anyways, he got out of the car, and I threw a stick for him, and then he rustled up a grouse and took off after it. And the grouse ran across the highway, and Ruckus followed him. It was quite a ways away, so I ran over and tried to get on the other side of the highway so he wouldn't come back. But just as I got to the highway, there was traffic coming from both directions, and I couldn't go. And he popped up underneath the ditch, made eye contact, and then just ran straight towards me right in front of a dump truck. And so that was pretty difficult to watch and experience. My best friend just dying.
Wow. You're such a young guy, Ben, to have to go through all of this in such a small period of time. What do you think is one of the lessons you learned from that, in terms of, people maybe struggling with COVID right now, or having either health issues, economic issues, or what have you? What are some of the biggest things that you learned that you think might be helpful for others?
When I was younger, living in an industrial park with a friend, I was going through a really, really tough time at that point, and I was so stressed about stuff. And he just had a carefree approach to a lot of things. Maybe it's because we were in very different places in our lives, and but anyways, he just said to me, man, it'll buff out. Like, crap will buff out. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. And for a long time, I kind of had that approach of, Can I fix the problem? Nope. Can I do anything about it? Nope. So why worry about it? Okay, let's move on. But recently I've actually been doing a lot of work with Bob Wilkie at I Got Mind, and I'm taking a success strategy course for the 21st century athlete. And it's been absolutely amazing, and it's taught me so much. The most important thing I will say is it's taught me how powerful the mind is. And, you know, belief just goes such a long way. It's everything. If you just simply get up and tell yourself you can do this, you can. The only thing that's holding you back is you. It's such a cliche to say that, but it's so true. And it's unfortunate that we let society have such a big impact, and everybody feels so judged and have anxiety of what others are thinking. And at the end of the day, it's you, and, you know, really matters what you think and what you believe, and don't let anybody tell you different.
I've got a great question, Ben, and that is, you talk about bring the ruckus. I want to know, what does that term mean for you? It evokes feelings of joy in me, just that kind of playful nature. But what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so I put that on all my helmets, and that's just kind of a memoir for Ruckus. But it's a little bit of my mantra as well when I race, and it's just to give my absolute everything, and just a reminder of approach life just like how he would. He just did not hold back in any sense, and was like full in, and never thinking about the repercussions or the dangers. It was just always go harder, faster, bigger, you know, just full out.
You know what? I love that. That's what I thought it meant, but I loved hearing your words to describe it. Thank you.
And Ben, along those lines, when you had all the success that you had in one of your best years ever, 2018, 2019, you had 3 top 10 downhill results, including, if I'm remembering correctly, 6th place in Kids Fuel, later 7th at the World Championship. What's going through your mind? Like, how did that all come together for you?
Yeah, that was such a strange year, because we were such a strong team, and everybody was building so well in the summer. And unfortunately, just in the preseason at Nikiska, we were skiing there 2 weeks prior to Lake Louise World Cup, the first race. And Ben Thomsen was skiing very, very fast and very well, but had an accident in training and completely blew up his knee. So we lost one athlete, and then we went to Lake Louise, and Manny Osborne Paradis had a very bad string of luck as well, and went into the fence and had a big injury. That was quite serious. And that next morning, or maybe it was the morning after, Eric Gay retired. So just like that, it was me, and Dustin Cook doing Super G, but mainly just me doing downhill. And I don't know what really changed, but it just felt like all of a sudden I had this whole team that supported me and believed in me, and that confidence just went along with my confidence and was just building each other. And that season was, you know, I was incredibly injured. I had a 50% tear on my left patella tendon. I ended up with pneumonia halfway through the season. My serviceman blew both his knees, so I had to find a replacement. It just kind of kept going on and on, but it didn't matter. It wasn't shaking me, and our team was just so strong, and it was just such a fun season because everybody believed in each other and did their jobs.
How much does that success propel you forward? You mentioned the pressure of needing results now in order to stay on the team or get back on the team. How much does that success that you had as recently as a couple of years ago sort of give you the confidence that, yeah, I can pull this, I can get everything back working for me? and getting those results?
It's just, I've done it once, so let's just do it again. But it does take a lot of effort, a lot of belief. Things have to line up. Again, you can't focus on those things. You need to be present and focus on what you're doing and not the results or the outcome, because that doesn't matter. As I'm learning from Bob Wilkie, is plan the work and work the plan. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Stuff like this, it's just so important to be comfortable and confident in what you're doing and believing in it. And especially if you've done it once, it just elevates you of that. Why not again? Even in the sense, if you look at another athlete, if he's doing it, why can't I? Or if they're doing it, why can't I? It's no different. We're all human, so there's nothing holding me back except for me.
It's funny, Ben, when I've talked to some of your teammates in the past and talking about you, they talk about your incredible determination and belief, because over your career, you've had, as you mentioned, doubters probably every step of the way. And I'm just curious how much that was or continues to drive you.
Yeah, it's for sure the biggest part. It's not always easy. I have my days or weeks where things get really tough and I lose faith, and it'd be a lot easier to just put my hands up and call her quits. But I love the sport so much. I am so determined. I know I can be Canada's top skier again. I have to put in the effort.
What's your ultimate goal? Because you have talked to me in the past that you'd like to compete in maybe 1 or 2 more Olympics. Is that still in the cards as far as you think at this point?
I would really like to do 2 more Olympics. The problem is if my body can handle 2 more Olympics. But for sure 1 more. And then more so Kitzbühel. Before it used to be just a podium at Kitzbühel, but if I'm shooting for a podium, why not shoot for the top of the podium? And that might be a tall ask, but a lot of people do believe that if there's one race, that's the one.
It's funny when I've talked to Eric Gay about that before. He sort of said to me as recently as a year or so ago that having that result in Kitzbühel, just from a global skiing point of view, is just so huge, because everybody knows that's sort of the mountain. But then when it comes to the general public, they view sort of success at the Olympics and they see sort of an Olympic medal, even though the course may or may not be anything close to what a course at Kitzbühel is like. But the skiing industry and the skiing community sees that as the ultimate. And you have had some great results there. So that must always be going through the back of your mind.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, the Olympics are very special in their own way, and Kitzbühel is very special in its own way as well. They are both extremely difficult to do well, because Kitzbühel is just a matter of how dangerous it is, how steep. The list goes on. And then the Olympics, it only comes around every 4 years. It's at a different venue. It has elements to it that are, to win it is just insane. That's not to take away from anything else. They're different beasts for different reasons. But having results at Kitzbühel really speaks volumes to a racer, because you can be good anywhere else, but Kitzbühel is something. It's the next level.
And Ben, you were talking about your body and injuries and hoping that your body can continue for another couple of years. I'm curious, what are some of the worst things you've been through on that front? And do you ever wonder if it's worth it?
I've been actually pretty lucky, although it seems like I've had injuries my entire career. I've been pretty lucky. but my knees and my patella tendons are pretty bad. I have some tearing in the left one mainly right now. I've already had my right knee reconstructed with a new patella tendon graft in there, cadaver, and the left one is going down the same path. I have had some success recently with blood flow restriction training, which is basically you put a tourniquet, not that tight, but above the muscle, and then you train the muscle, and it's really good for rehab. But it's daunting, and I just really hope that I can finish my career strong.
You mentioned the uncertainty of the season at this point in time, and you mentioned the stress of trying to make sure that you get results without thinking about results too much. What is on the cards right now? Like, is the season supposed to be starting for you at some point in time? Is there a couple of races already on the calendar?
The World Cup calendar was posted a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, Lake Louise and Beaver Creek will be canceled and won't be running. They do have thoughts of replacing the races at Val d'Isère on December 12th-ish. And I mean, our season is never stopped. Like it always goes. You're always training. You're always focusing on it. Always traveling for it. And winter is fastly approaching here. There's already snow at the top of the mountains. So once I can ski here or Nikiska in the area, I'll be training hopefully all of November on snow. And then in December, if everything's a go and we're allowed to travel, I'll be flying over there and staying as long as I can and competing as long as I can. Hopefully we can finish the season or complete a season. But there's a lot of uncertainties to that, as everybody knows.
And you mentioned the stress. What's that like in terms of what's going on for you right now and dealing with that and trying to make sure that you get those results to get back on the team?
Yeah, in the past, the stress would really, really bother me, and I was a terrible procrastinator. I would just go, I can't handle it. I got to focus on this. Can't do that. Got to focus on skiing. And now it's gotten much better of just doing little things every day to lighten the load, and I'm able to focus on things that I never could before, and focus on everything and get my work done. It's super stressful and super busy, but it seems much more manageable now. And as far as the stress of results, I'm not really thinking about that, because at the end it doesn't matter. Like if I finish the season and I don't have the results and I look back at it, I didn't get the results because I was stressing about it. Well, then I'm not going to get the results. So why stress about it? I need to focus on what I'm doing and be present.
I've got a really good question from Jose Lanouette. I didn't mean to interrupt, Teddy, but this is a good one. Ben, can you see that question? How do you deal with the uncertain schedule? What are your tips that you can share to maybe help others keep up their morale? Thanks, Jose.
Yeah, a really good question. And it relates to everything in the world right now. There is a lot of uncertainties, and there is a lot of unknowns. You can plan, but you also have to adapt and be ready to adapt. When life throws you something, you have to be able to adapt quick and think rationally and move forward and not let it, don't stress about it, don't worry about it. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. You need to look at the new problem and go with that. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but it's one of those things. It'll help you immensely when you're able to put that behind you and not worry about it and move forward.
Just following up on that as a final question for you, Ben, when we look at the Resiliency Project, we're always looking for lessons around resilience that our guests can share with others. You've had so many ups and so many downs and so many ups and so many downs. So, and you've shared sort of adaptability and trying, you mentioned Ruckus and taking Ruckus for walks and having structure in your life. Are there other strategies that have worked for you that maybe you can help share with others that might help them going through what they're going through?
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught in a rut. I understand that. I just recently went through a little bit of a rut, and it's just so important for self-care. Just take even those 5 minutes for yourself that day, whatever that means. A walk, whether it's just listening to music for a little bit and just being in a calm, easy, quiet place. It's just really important to take a step back and just breathe and just let everything go. I know it kind of sounds weird and stupid at first, or that useless, it's not going to help, but it's amazing. You just do that, and routine, schedule, structure. Those things are so important. They might not seem important, but if you have a list and you just tick off those small things each day, and at the end of the day, you can look at your list and you might be exhausted. You might have a ton of things to do, but you've accomplished stuff. So now, all right, I'm going to go out and I'm going to accomplish more. And just doing those simple things, it can just propel you forward.
How important, Ben, is it from your point of view to have somebody that you can talk to about what you're going through without maybe even judgment, just somebody to listen?
Oh, I mean, huge. I was terrible at that, especially younger. I didn't need anybody. I didn't need to talk to anybody. I don't need to talk about it. And I understand everybody's different, and sometimes you don't want to talk about it or don't need to talk about it, but eventually you're going to build it up inside, and you are going to need to talk about it. And the terrible thing is everybody makes you believe that you shouldn't show your feelings or you shouldn't talk to people about this. And depression is scary and an unwanted topic. So it's important to find a rock, find somebody that you trust. And if you're maybe putting that trust in somebody and you're not hearing what you want to hear from them, maybe just let them know your feelings of, I don't want your advice right now, but I just want a soundboard, somebody to listen without judgment. I maybe say it in a nicer way than that, but yeah, it's super important to have that stability and support.
Well, thank you very much, Ben, for sharing your stories, for sharing some of these lessons. Wish you the best of luck in this, very difficult season ahead, which we don't know what it's going to look like. And that, as you say, is, kind of embracing the uncertainty, I guess, is maybe the lesson in that you just don't know, and you just have to adapt quickly, as you were saying. So whatever it is, it's going to come your way.
Adapt on the fly. Thank you very much, Teddy.
Thank you for joining us. Thanks again to my partner, PJ Kwong, as always. Don't forget to share the video with your friends, like our Think Redefined Facebook page, my Teddy Katz YouTube channel, and help us spread the word about our resiliency project. Please join us again in a couple of weeks for another great story of resilience and reinvention. Thanks again to Ben Thomsen and to my partner, PJ, and bye for now.